a while since you and I've had a chance to talk, man. How's life treating you these days?
I mean, it's busy, man. Like when you got two babies, you got two kids, you got a long time partnership, you got a career that is also very taxing. Um, and when you got a music career that's also pushing and pulling you in every direction, it's been busy. It feels like I'm in a meeting every 5 seconds.
What do you think personally and professionally has changed for you when you first started this to all the things that you know now? I remember, oh God, Ruben Studdard, who was the winner back in the day with American Idol. I had a chance to interview him. I think it was 2 weeks after he had won. And I had asked him, what do you think you've learned before blah, blah, blah? And he said, always read your contract. And he was just like straight out blunt. What do you think you have learned from beginning this incredible journey to who you are now and what you know now?
I mean, I think I've learned the value in saying no. I've learned the value of everybody's time, not just mine. I've learned that there's always going to be ups and downs in any working relationship that you have. And I've learned that showing up is half the battle. And well, since we last spoken, I've actually I've switched career paths outside of music. When we first talked, I was going through my apprenticeship in plumbing, and now I'm
Yes.
a youth worker. I mean, I got my red seal. I should also say that, but I'm a youth outreach worker, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years. So I've been kind of doing social work in the last 3 years, and that has been since I've started that. It's always felt like I should have been doing it since day one, but you live and you learn.
How do you balance all that? How do you balance that? Balance family, balance music. How do you balance all that?
I don't think I do, man. I just do it. I think I just do it, and when I need to release any of the stresses and anxieties or tensions, I just exercise, man. I go for long walks. I got my garage set up for boxing, so I got my heavy bag in there. Anytime that it kind of gets crunchy or tense, I always make sure that I'm in there hitting the bag and make sure that I'm stretching properly. But there's no balance, man. It's just go.
Do you still have the same members, the guys that I had met years ago? Are you guys still a unit or has things changed?
Well, they're still the homies. We don't play together anymore. You're talking about Nick Dorado, Jeremy
Yeah.
Costello, and Nathan Doucette. Nathan Doucette and Jeremy Costello, they live here in Halifax. Nick, I believe, is last time I spoke with them, they were in Toronto. But no, we haven't been playing together. So I got a completely new set of folks that I've been playing with, and Jackson Fairfax Perry being my musical director. Um, yeah. We kind of we're still homies, but we don't play together as much because everybody's kind of doing their own thing, right? I believe Jeremy Costello and Nate Doucette, they play with Fiverr, which is Simone Smith. They're still playing, they're still doing their thing. But yeah, we haven't been playing with each other since almost 3 years now.
Has a family man changed your thought process when writing music? Because I mean, family is blood, and I've talked to a lot of people about this that sometimes that creeps into the music.
I think, yeah, I would say it does. Like my immediate family and the family that me and Jules has created is very much inspiration for a lot of stuff. But this latest record, 1783, it all really stems from when COVID had us basically shut down in the house. Like I realized in my life that I didn't really know who and where my family within Nova Scotia is from. Like I know the people that my grandmother has told me, but like I couldn't if my daughter asked me family stuff, like I wasn't able to really tell them or tell her. I wasn't able to. So I kind of just went down this like, Samson ancestral kind of path to figure out like where the Samsons kind of came from and how they migrated to Nova Scotia. And it was with a lot of that research and a lot of the generations work with our television series that a lot of the content through the album was really starting to manifest itself. Like 1783 is the year that, the big migration of blacks came into Nova Scotia. And this album is not generally like the history of the blacks in Nova Scotia. It's just using that point of reference to pull from a lot of the stories in history and experiences of Black folks in Nova Scotia, pulling from all that vast history to create the songs that are on the record.
How
So
did you go
like
through? And sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask you, how did you go through the research? Where did you go? Especially because this is, as you said, it began during COVID. So a
yeah,
lot of us were on this,
yeah,
laptops and things
yeah.
like that. And what did you discover that you went, oh my goodness, I had no idea?
Well, I think first of all, the oh my goodness part was like just where Samsons in general kind of like came from. And I'm still kind of searching that. Like my great grandfather's name was Joseph Sampson. It says that he's from Bermuda or Barbados, just two different records that say so. So I'm really trying to figure out like, is the Sampson a plantation owner's name or is it a Caribbean name? I'm still trying to figure that out. But I think when I really started diving into my great grandfather's story, which is his name is Daniel P. Sampson, the last person to be hanged in the Halifax courthouse in 1935 for a crime that he didn't commit. He was wrongfully accused and executed. Once I really started diving into like that story, and it's like minutia, like the RCMP file and all that stuff. Like when I really started diving into that case, that's when I was like, oh man, because there's always been like my grandmother Carolyn Sampson, God rest her soul, like she's always known that something was fishy about this case, and I was able to really dig into it and find out the truth about it, and that's when I was like, oh man, yeah, that was an eye opener for sure. Um, but there's like so much more. Like I found when I was up in Lincolnville, Nova Scotia. There's a man up there. His name's Alonzo Reddick. I sat with him for a few hours and we're talking, and he's telling me about this cemetery or this burial ground, really, in Goldsboro, Nova Scotia, where that's where a lot of the black loyalists, when they came here, that's where a lot of them were burying. Like they were burying themselves over there. Not like they were taking themselves and throwing them in there, but that's where a lot
Right.
of them were buried. And there was one part of that coast, that Goldsboro coast, where it was eroding, and you could see wood. You could see the coffins coming out of the ground. And
Wow.
Alonzo Reddick, with his experience within the churches and experiences with the kind of the connections that he has, he was able to excavate that part and actually get them buried elsewhere. Now there's like a monument up in Goldsboro for the Black Loyalist graves. And when I found that out, I was like, I didn't even know about that until he told me. Like I knew of that. There's like a really old cemetery in Upper Big Trackety, Nova Scotia. Upper Big Trackety has the oldest Black Baptist church in, I want to say, Canada. It's like 270 something years old. And even before it got to the place where it was at, where it came from, there's like an older cemetery up there. And just like finding out where all these kind of like hidden spots are, like there was talk of us coming across this old house in Acacia Valley that might have been like a safe house for Underground Railroad folks, but I don't know how true that is. But discovering a lot of stuff and discovering a lot of traumatic stuff that's happening within our communities, and just like there's a song on the record, it's called Bags Packed, that like it speaks on that theme of like finding out all this information. What do you kind of do with it? And once you do find it out, like all the good, the bad, and the ugly about it, um, realizing that you should have just minded your business.
Okay, I want to jump in there because that's actually a question I want to ask you. when you're getting all this information, did you feel like you connected with it, or did you feel like, whoa, okay, you told me, now let me just put that aside?
Well, there's a lot of conversations, Rudy, that would come up, especially during the research phase, and I use Generations Black Memories of Nova Scotia, the television series I created for Eastlink Community Television,
Mhm.
as like a research piece element of it because it's still ongoing. Um, it's not that like because I mean I've come from a lot of experiences that has allowed me and given me a lot of patience with these stories and given me a lot of patience with these experiences that other folks are telling me in this history. Um, once if something like just for example, if something like traumatic that someone shares with me, like I'm able to connect with it in a way to kind of give that person who is sharing that because like we got to remember 70, 80 year olds back in the day because they didn't have access to therapy like we do. You know what I'm saying? They were just going through the motions. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm coming in as a neutral person and as a stranger who's gracefully able to allow folks to open up and feel comfortable talking about their stuff. And I'm able to actually help them understand their experience because I've also kind of understand those things that they've been through. Like I'm able to kind of give them a sense of security with the stories that they're telling me because like I can connect with it. I can connect it to a different story. I can connect it to my life experience. I can connect it to a friend's life experience. You know what I mean? It's just like these intergenerational conversations that I'm having with these folks. It's almost like they're almost like healing circles every time because uh, there is a lot of stuff that I shouldn't say a lot. There's definitely some stuff that I'm learning that I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll top shelf that one. I'm not gonna say any more about that. But it's just with that information, it's allowing me to consult with the right people, community members, to really see how we can kind of get through a lot of this stuff and move forward. Um, to really help the ultimate goal of seeing Nova Scotia Black folks come together and work together because there's so much Black folks in Nova Scotia with a lot of uh, a lot of the same experiences, a lot of the same upbringings, and a lot of the same historical references. And we've been preaching about coming together as Black folks for like the last 50 years. And with these generational conversations, I'm able to really kind of connect some pieces to see if that's actually a thing that we can get to in the future.
I was just you basically answer the questions I'm gonna ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyways, though. Um, is how much of this is just your history, and how much is this not just history of Halifax, Nova Scotia, but Canadian Black history and Canadian history in general?
You mean like the in the record?
In telling your story, I
Yeah.
feel like your story is all of our story.
Word. Well, I mean, I think the Black history of Nova Scotia is very key to the Black history of Canada, I think.
Yes.
Um, because like it's this at one point was meant to be like the capital of like no, in Nova Scotia, Shelburne, Nova Scotia, Birchtown, Shelburne, Nova Scotia was meant to be the capital of Nova Scotia at some point, but Halifax ended up being the capital. Um, and it's just like there's so, most of the migration of Black folks has migration and immigration and emigration of Black folks started in Nova Scotia. I think the earliest Black person that we can say that was in so-called Canada when they started basically bringing folks in, they started basically colonizing the land. I think it was 1604 or 1607 was like the earliest Black person documented in Canada. And I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Rafua Cooper for doing a lot of that research, and Dr. David Woods for doing a lot of Nova Scotian research. David Woods has always been a reference point for me with the work that he's already done. So like the work that I'm doing with Generations Black Memories in Nova Scotia, he already did that stuff in the 70s. Like he already went across Nova Scotia and wrote down people's stories and wrote down people's nicknames and wrote down the folklore and wrote down figured out who all the crafters were, and he did all this Nova Scotian research and started this cultural awareness youth group in Nova Scotia or in Halifax, all across Nova Scotia, sorry, that where black folks were able to really kind of learn about their cultural history within Nova Scotia. We missed the mark. My generation missed the mark. So like we're growing up in this system, in the school system, only getting Martin Luther King and Malcolm X context. You know what I mean? But the generation before me, or sorry, like my mother's generation, they had access to this cultural awareness youth group that David Wood started and was really able to give people the what the Black Nova Scotian identity really is, what the African Nova Scotian identity really is. But my generation, we lost it at some point because there's a lot of people my generation, black folks, young folks, we're looking at each other with so much hatred within our hearts and not understanding how related we are, man. Like everybody in Nova Scotia, black folks in Nova Scotia, man, you go back 2 generations, man, because especially two generations ago, you got great greats. Man, people were having 15, 16 kids. There's people up in North Preston, East Preston having 20 something children. And those 20 something children move all across Nova Scotia. And it's like once you really start diving into the great greats and how much people occupied the houses, man, everybody can find a relation with each other within Nova Scotia. And I think it's very important that we recognize the Black history of Nova Scotia because it is the Black history of Canada. Like if it wasn't for Scotians, a lot of Black folks all across Canada wouldn't be able to be here. Nova Scotians fought really hard for for the rights of Black folks in Nova Scotia, and a lot of plight. Like I mean, a lot of Nova Scotia plight, a lot of hard plight up in Nova Scotia. But I'm hoping with this new project, Rudy, I'm hoping with this new project that I'm able to really kind of bring an education element across the nation for folks to really recognize that Scotians been here, man. We've been here.
Well, we got the
You know,
music, which
yeah.
represents everything that you say, and you talked about the. Do I call it documentary? What do I call it?
It's a television series,
Sail
Generations Black.
television. Do we get to see it? I'm in Ontario. I'm in Toronto, Ontario. Do I get to see? How do I get access to this? Is my
So
question.
Generation Memories in Nova Scotia, how it works, it's a Eastlink Community Television series. So once season one is actually just rolling out on YouTube right now. So if you want to watch season one, you can watch that on YouTube. All you gotta do is just search up Eastlink Generations. It comes up. There's a playlist of 13 episodes. But once it's aired on television, it then comes out a year later on YouTube. Season two right now is being aired on television right now. We just finished shooting, so we're in post for season three and season four right now. And I'm saying all this language to you, Rudy, and I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. I they throw me into these roles, Rudy, and I just try to get the work done. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do it. Um,
Somebody has to do it, and if it's you, it is you. I'm curious though, because like you did mention about families having 16, 17 kids. Did you, during your research, run into a relative that you had no idea was a relative?
yes, man. Okay, so check this out. Are you ready for this? Okay, so I'm up. So there's this golf tournament. This black started like the African Nova Scotian led golf tournament that happens in Truro. It's called the Apex tournament. They just did their 51st or second year. And I was up there. We were covering the Apex tournament, and I'm up there, and this woman, she's looking at me, and she's kind of when somebody's looking at you, like you can feel it, right? So like I'm kind of like I'm giving her the eye, like just making sure she actually is kind of locked in with me. And she comes up and walks to me. She looks at me. She's like, "Are you a Johnson?" I'm just like, yeah, I'm a Johnson. She's like, who's your dad? I was like, my dad's name's Donnie Johnson. She's like, we are first cousins. My dad is your dad's brother. My dad's Wayne. I was like, your Uncle Wayne's daughter? She's like, yeah. Her name's Melissa. And I was like, man, and I found out because my a good homie of mine, his name's Riz Francis, but his real name is Renosker Francis. Um, he he always said he's like, my sister is your first cousin. Like her name's Melissa. My sister's your first cousin. We got the same mom. And I was like, man, like, and I never met her until that time. She came up to me and she's like, oh, you look like a Johnson. The other crazy thing, Rudy, is check this out, dude. Middleton, Nova Scotia, right? Middleton, Nova Scotia, there's a black community up there. It's on this one road. It's called North Street up in Middleton, Nova Scotia. That's where all the black folks would have occupied. Just, not a lot of families in a lot of these black communities and settlements in Nova Scotia, man, they're dwindling hard, right? There's not a lot of
Yes.
folks in all the houses and not a lot of people in it no more, right? But I'm up Middleton and there's a 99-year-old woman up there. Her name's Cassie Talbert, Catherine Talbert. Catherine Cassie, I walk into her house. I interviewed her when she was 98, but we did it again and when she was 99 because I just need to get more context on some stuff. And she looked at me. She was like, who'd you say your family was? I said, well, my dad's Donnie Johnson. My mom's Matina Sampson. You wouldn't know Matina Sampson. She was like, Donnie Johnson. She's like, you're a Johnson? I was like, yeah. She was like, who was his father? And I said, Stephen Johnson. She was like, was Stephen Johnson a twin? I was like, yeah, Stephen and Stuart. And she started laughing. She was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, she started getting like really, really like gut laugh. You know what I mean? She was like, your grandfather is Stephen Johnson? I was like, yes. And she was like, his parents are Arthur Johnson and Evelyn brothers. I was like, yeah, that's my great grandparents. And she pointed down the street and said they used to live right there. I said, what? What? She was like, they used to live right there. She's like, the Johnsons that are on this street are all your family. I said, wow. And there was two Johnsons at the end of the road. And I went and knocked on the door on the one that was at the end of the road. And I think the fellow's name was either David Johnson. I didn't get his name. I can't remember his name. Knocked on his door, and he looked just like my grandfather, my great grandfather. He looked just like him. And I knock on the door. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "You wouldn't happen to know Donnie Johnson or Derek Johnson?" Like, yeah, that's my cousins. I was like, "Well, my great grandfather's Arthur Johnson." He was like, "Well, that's my second cousin." I was like, "Stop it!" And then we just started going down him. He started naming off family tree on the Johnson side. So many people, like East Preston, Dolly Williams, talking to her, and you go to Glasgow Road, Dolly Williams. She's a Glasgow. Well, we go up to Glasgow Road where her homestead is, man. And her cousin looked at me and said, "What you say your last name was?" I was like, "Sampson." He's like, "Are you related to Rita Sampson?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my great grandmother." She said, your great." No, that was my great great grandmother. He said, "Your great great grandmother used to come up here and piss in that outhouse and was scared to death of the rats. And she came in with her underwear down her ankles one day because she was scared of rats. She used to come up here every weekend and drink."
Wow.
So stories, Rudy. So many of those like family connections, man. As soon as I start going down far enough and I start naming off people like who my greats are, where my family is, it's just like, yeah, people like we're connected. We're literally so connected. And I'm just trying to make our younger generation, including mine, understand how connected we are in Nova Scotia. Because once we appreciate that and understand that, we can look at our brother and sister or that person, that human being, with a lot more love and respect rather than looking at them like it's wartime. You know what I mean? I grew up in an environment that was like any person that I seen that was black, it was wartime. And I didn't,
Yeah.
and our grandparents are cousins. Like, come on, and we don't even know this. So I'm just with this series and with this research and with this album, I'm really hoping that it prompts people to dig in to themselves and their family and make those connections. That's what I'm hoping it does.
Amen to that. As we're slowly wrapping this up, I'm just curious. Would you ever consider you see this more in the States than you see up here in Canada? Would you do a concert, but it's a family reunion concert, and only your family, extended family, would come out together, and then you can finally figure out as you are performing this music, find out who is this with this connected with this, so you could add more to that wonderful tree that you have.
Well, I'm hoping, Rudy, that one day I get to do a show in Toronto that is very family reunion centric. I want to do a Scotian reunion show in Toronto. And because there's so many Scotians in Toronto, there's so many Scotians in
It's
Montreal,
true.
and there's so many like there's always that Scotian connection. But I'm hoping with this album, wherever we tour it, wherever we do it, wherever we do a show, we do it in an environment that allows for that congregation, and so we can really start pointing out who's family and who's who, and have those talks. I'm really tired of festivals, Rudy. I'm tired. Okay, tired of them. Give me a soft cedar. Give me a community rec center. Give me something where we can congregate. Give me a church. I don't care if it's small or big. Give me a church. But I'm tired of the festivals. We need to have more reunions, and I'm hoping that with this album we get to do that and really kind of bring Scotians together to appreciate where we're from.
Brother, I'm going to wrap this up. First, I want to say I'm so happy for you on this
Thank
journey. I'm actually jealous that you're taking this journey, and I haven't been able to do something like this. But eventually, I will do something like this for myself too. It is a brave and wonderful thing you're doing, but as important as what we see visually and we hear musically, thank you so much for sharing this journey with the rest of us here in Canada. Thank you so much.
Rudy. Thank you, brother Rudy, and good to see you again. And I hope